But let's get into our all hype defense. We'll get straight into it. And you know what? Fionn, I'm actually going to let you go first on this one. So I'm going to pull up your all hype defense. So we're going to do it the same way as we did our all hype offenses. Fionn's going to explain his team and why he picked them, and then me and Jake will destroy his picks and get into fights with him over it. Because full disclosure, I know one name that's on it already, and we're going to go to blows about this. But anyway, Fionn, this is your all hype defense. So tell us a little bit about your selections.
Yeah, I think I might get some heat for this from a lot of fans. These guys are not the prototypical overhyped players. And I'll go through them and it'll kind of explain a little bit. So starting off on our defensive line, I've gone for Frank Clark. There's a couple of guys that you could also go for, I know, that are maybe more on the overhyped spectrum. But the reason I chose him was he's worth $28 million a year. He managed 29 tackles, which is not terrible, but it's also not $28 million worth of defensive end. And on top of all that, he might not even play this season because his off-the-field issues are also causing him a problem. And I factored that in to all hype. If you pay a guy loads of money without looking at whether or not he can fulfill even his contract, for me, that's hype. That's paying money for something you're not guaranteed to get and that he can't live up to. Miles Jack, a few people might be surprised of having him, the linebacker from the Jaguars. He, again, is a guy who's worth a lot of money. $58 million contract he has. And the reason I've put him there is because if you look at the guys around him on the contract spectrum, he is well below those numbers. The guy ahead of him, Cunningham off the Texans, in the last 2 seasons has averaged 164 and 142 combined tackles. Miles Jack is only 118 and a season-shortened 66 last season. So I know tackles aren't the best metric, but unfortunately for him, he's not living up to the massive money that he got given. Stephon Gilmore is more a straight-up eye test. I think he's overhyped. I know he was brilliant a couple of years ago, but the problem with the cornerback position is as soon as someone knows you're good, they just avoid you. And he got into the Pro Bowl this season, and we discussed this on our Pro Bowl show, that we did not think he warranted getting in. He got in on past seasons hype, and we don't think he lived. I don't think he was even the best corner on the Patriots the last season. So I think he definitely qualifies as a classic overhype situation this season. And finally, the one that Dara definitely has the problem with, that is Jamal Adams. And again, I think along the lines of Frank Clark and Miles Jack, you gave up everything to get this guy, and he hasn't been everything on the pitch. He's been good. He's been fine. I described him as grand, but you didn't pay grand money for him. You paid loads of grand to him to come over and play safety. So that's my thing. Full disclosure as well, I did want a different guy, and I couldn't pick him because he plays for my team. I do think that Landon Collins is very dubiously overhyped, but I'm a Washington fan, so I'm not going to throw him under the bus. So for me, it was Jamal Adams.
Yeah. Dara, let me go first because I know you're probably going to have a lot to say.
I love as well that Jamal Adams still has his Jets jersey on in this picture as well.
Yeah. When putting that picture in, I thought it would be a bit too much insult to injury for Dara. Let me go through your list here, Fionn. Frank Clark, Miles Jack, Jamal Adams. It all comes down to the same thing. It's money or what you had to do to get them. So I'm completely agree with you. Frank Clark and Miles Jack are way too overpaid for what they produce. Jamal Adams, you just had to give up, 3 first rounds to get this dude? And he's not even
two first and a third.
I'm sorry, 2 first and a third. And he's not even practicing, if I'm wrong, because he wants a new deal.
Contract holdout, yeah.
I didn't even realize that when I put him in. That's even
contract holdout.
What you want when you trade 2 firsts and a third for this dude, and then Stephon Gilmore, he got into the Pro Bowl on just a popularity contest vote. That I can't remember their cornerback on the Patriots, but he had certainly had
double barrel name.
J.C. Jackson.
J.C. Jackson. He had certainly better stats than Stephon Gilmore last season.
Yeah, he did. I think he was actually rivaling Xavier Howard for the number of interceptions he had at one point in the season too. So he should have been in the Pro Bowl instead of that. Yeah, Fionn, actually, to be honest, with a lot of your picks, I'd agree with you. You know, Frank
All
Clark
of them, really.
for the money. Jake, stop it. We still have to get through your team now too. So let's hold the boat here for a second.
Oh dear.
Just because I think Fiona's just targeting us because last couple of weeks on the offense he's targeted you on the Giants and now he's targeting me on the Seahawks. But yeah, Frank Clark, for the money that you're paying him, he's not giving the money's worth, if you know what I'm trying to say. Stephen Gilmore, yeah, I think he's holding out at the moment too because he's looking for a new contract. Whether he's deserving of one, like top cornerback money to the likes of Jalen Ramsey, question mark still about that. Miles Jack was part of that, Saxonville era in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And then all of the good players left, but Miles Jack stayed. So it sort of tells you there that, he was part of a great defense, but he wasn't part of a great defense, if you know what I'm trying to say. He was there, but he was not one of the ones that was making Saxonville. That was such a stupid name.
And I don't know about you guys, but when I was coming down to this, defense obviously being a more subtle position, the guys are actually paid reasonably what they're worth. So like the names that are very rarely overhyped because they're so careful about handing out money and handing out praise. So that's why a lot of my picks have landed on the kind of the have you lived up to your contract more than necessarily media hype. Stefan, I think, falls directly in the media hype. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I found that when I was trying to pick my players, a lot of it came down to are you living up to the value someone put on you more than do fans think you're amazing and your stats just don't back it up?
Yeah. And no, and you're right. And look, with the Jamal Adams thing, like I know we joked about saying that we're going to get into a fight, but there's a lot of points I agree with you with. There is a lot of points that I agree with you with. For a player who plays in the safety position as well, his coverage is questionable. It's not great. The Seahawks are blessed that they have a fantastic safety in Quandre Diggs there to sort of help the limitations that Jamal Adams has. Like if you could make a special position just for Jamal Adams to be like a blitzer, he'd be one of the best players in the league if that was his actual position. Because 9.5 sacks last year leading the team was absolutely fantastic for him, but paying what they did for a safety who isn't really great at playing safety doesn't make sense, and the fact that the contract holdout is going on at the moment, I like they're going to pay him. It's just they're just trying to work out on the exact numbers. There's reports going on that Bobby Wagner is the most paid person on the defense. They don't want to go over that. I don't know why, like going over Bobby Wagner's, I think it's $20 million a year, is such a thing, because
that's
Bobby
just
Wagner
the team's excuse to tell him, I can't go over 20 million.
I know it's a silly excuse, because I think actually what would get it done is 21. So for the sake of it, an extra $1 million per season and however long the deal is going to be, it just does not make sense. Also, the thing is, he is only 25. He's still so young in this league as well. So there's still so much time for him to improve in his coverage to sort of nail down that safety position and be a top safety for the next 10 years in the league. For myself, hoping that is going to be with the Seattle Seahawks, because I'd rather Jamal Adams on my team than to face him, because he is hard, because you can set up blockers for him, but he still gets through and gets after that quarterback when obviously the play dictates. So Fionn, I'm not really disagreeing with him being in the all hype team, because obviously for the money the Seahawks paid, he hasn't lived up to it, or for the picks that the Seahawks gave up, I should say, hasn't really paid off. So for that, yes, I will allow you to put him in your team. I'm giving you permission.
So
to put
generous of you. Thank you so much, Dara. That's so generous.
You must be catching me on a good day. I'm going on my holidays soon. That's what it is. But let's say so that is Fionn's all hype defense. If you agree with that, if you don't agree with any names in that, comment underneath and let us know. And we'll chat it out. We'll chat out. If you're a Seahawks fan and you
Shout out to the Cowboys linebackers who are all overhyped.
I cannot agree
I
more.
wanted to
Yeah.
put some Giants on there, but I kind of like Blake Martinez, and I couldn't name even a single other Giants linebacker. So I said, well,
I'll tell you, the other linebacker opposite Blake Martinez was Mr. Irrelevant last year. So
is it Mayo?
it's
Was
not-
it Mayo?
No, he was there for a while. I think he's
I
been
mean,
released.
you can't really
Was
call them
it-
underrated when they're literally not rated at all or overrated. So like,
rated is okay.
rated is just they
Rated,
exist.
yeah.
They're on a list somewhere.
Who was it? It was a Coughlin or something like that. Was that the
Who?
other linebacker
Who?
on
Oh,
the Giants?
Tay Crowder. He's Mr.
Tay
Irrelevant.
Crowder. Yeah,
Yeah,
Tay Crowder.
254th pick.